Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of TCG Talk. Today, we're going to be doing another Briar deck tech video. This one's going to be a little bit different than the one we did a few days ago. The last one that we did was a strictly like lightning go wide Briar deck tech. It didn't really worry about Runechant or anything kind of different. This one, though, I've been really trying to add some Runechant into Briar. The one thing I've noticed out of probably the 10-20 games I've played with her so far is that sometimes you don't push through enough arcane damage that you want to push through, especially when you're playing like against a guardian or against somebody that has a lot of good defense. Maybe even they have equipment that has a lot of good defense. They're just blocking out your physical damage, maybe arcane barriering to knock out your one or two arcane, and then they're just kind of stalling the game out. Which for Briar, because she's going so wide and because she's so offensive, they can really fatigue you out. So I wanted to put some rune chants in there just to try to put a little bit more pressure on the arcane side of things, and then try to continue to go wide, just to give my opponent some difficulty when it comes to blocking. And also did this without trying to compromise my pitch or compromise my ability of go again, things of that nature. So if you like this deck, let me know. It's really good if you're a Viscerai player or a Runeblade player and you like the Rune Chant mechanic. It's really good for that. Just for everybody who may not be aware, and maybe it's your first time looking at Briar and you're trying to find a new deck for her, just be aware she has two abilities. If you play two non-attack actions in the same turn, you gain an embodiment of lightning token, which gives your next attack go again. And then if you deal damage with an attack action card, arcane or physical, it creates one embodiment of earth token for each type of damage you're dealing. So if you play a card that deals physical and arcane damage and they don't block it, then you'll create two tokens. And what that does is for each token you have on your next defensive turn, all your non-attack action cards gain +1 defense for each token that you have. So if you make two tokens and you have a card like Electrify that's a non-attack action that defends for 2, it'll defend for 4. So it's really good to block out and be able to keep the pressure on them. But as we're getting into the deck, the equipment is pretty standard. I always tell people in my videos, I try to give people like high budget options and low budget options with equipment, because equipment is the one thing that not everybody can get their hands on. In order for this deck to work, you need at least Bloodsheath Skeleton. I love Bloodsheath Skeleton. Already defends for 2 and can defend for technically 3 or total, because it'll defend for 1 on its second turn because it has temper. And then what it does is uh, basically, if you destroy it, the next attack action card and non-attack action card that you play costs so many less to play depending on how many rune chants you have. Um, so if you have one rune chant, it'll cost one less resource to play. And the key with this deck is that none of my cards are over 1 cost. So if I only hold one rune chant at the time that I pop this, I will gain 2 cards for free basically to play. So it's really useful for that, and it defends well. For the head, you could use Arcanite Skullcap. That's really good. Obviously, I like using Crown Dichotomy because I have a lot of Runeblade cards in this deck, and I want to be able to fish them and get them back up from my graveyard into my deck. You use a lot of cards with Briar. You go wide. You're being very offensive, and sometimes getting those cards back into your deck is really important. It also has Arcane Barrier 1. So basically, you destroy this and you put a target Runeblade attack action, non-attack action card from your graveyard back to the top of your deck in any order. So I'll go grab a Singeing Steelblade, typically, and then something else, maybe even a Sting of Sorcery, because it's a non-attack action card, or a Flicker Wisp or something of that nature. So it's really useful, especially since Sting of Sorcery and Flicker Wisp are so useful for this deck. Using 2 of them and then getting them right back into your deck again is really good. For the arms, this is where you could substitute. Grasp of the Art Knight is a pretty uncommon equipment piece in the fact that it's a little expensive. So if you don't pull it, this costs around $130 to buy right now, 120 to 140 depending on where you buy it. Basically, once per turn, you can pay 2 resources to create a rune chant token, which is really good at the beginning of the game if you're trying to get that going already. Or you can do it late game to try to get that 1 rune chant and push through that 1 extra damage. The only catch with this is it costs 1 additional to activate this for each rune chant you control. So if you control 2 rune chants, you have to pay 4 to create another one. So this is better when you don't have hardly any rune chants available. Maybe you're trying to trigger something and you just want to create that extra rune chant. It's really useful for that, and it blocks for 2 with Battle Worn. So it's going to end up blocking for 3 total in its entire lifespan. If you don't have Grasp of the Arknight, which is honestly probably the best equipment piece you can have in this, other than Bloodchief Skeleton, you can use Mark of Lightning. Mark of Lightning is really good as well. It's in the new set and it's very common. If you've opened more than 3 packs, you probably have it. The reason I like Mark of Lightning is whenever a lightning or elemental attack you control is defended, you destroy Mark of Lightning, and that attack deals 1 additional set of damage. This is really good because not only do you get the extra point of damage in, but what you also get is an extra embodiment of Earth token. Like I said in my last video when I was talking about this card, just for example, if I attack with Arcanic Shockwave and they defend, let's say, for 3, so 1 physical gets through, that's 1 embodiment of Earth token. And then if I play Mark of Lightning on top of it to give that 1 additional damage, I'll get a 2nd token, which is really useful just to A, create those tokens, and then B, kind of get that extra point of damage in there. Maybe you're trying to hit a certain threshold or on hit effect or something. And then finally for the feat, I use Snapdragon Scalers because I want to keep going wild with this deck. There's other things you can use. Her boots, Spellbound Creepers are really good for Briar. But I just like the automatic go again with this. But Spellbound Creepers obviously can be really useful as well. So getting into the deck, I kind of took out some of the lightning cards. I have so many lightning cards already. Like even with taking out a lot of lightning cards, I still have 21 lightning cards, I think. So I still have a lot. So I still have no issues fusing, but I add a bunch of stuff to kind of supplement this. So we still have the elemental attacks in Arcanic Shockwave. We have Entwine Lightning, which gets go again on fuse. Arcanic Shockwave deals 1 arcane on fuse, and they both attack for 4. Then you have Rites of Lightning, which attacks for 4. If you fuse it, it deals 1 arcane damage, and if that arcane damage gets through or Rites of Lightning deals arcane in any way, it gains go again. So as you can see, go again, go again. This deals arcane. So 2 out of 3 of these deal arcane, and 2 out of 3 of them have go again. So you can kind of see a trend here. And then the final one, if I can find it, is Veil of Flash. I don't know where it went. It's in, oh, here. Sorry about that. I was like, wait a second, did I take it out? So Veil of Flash is in here as well. If you fuse it, you can play your next non-attack action as though it were an instant, which is really useful. Maybe you played a non-attack action before Veil of Flash to pump it, like a Weave Lightning, and then you play Veil of Flash, fuse it, then you can play something like Read the Runes and create 3 Runechant tokens, which is really good to set up your next turn if you're trying to get a good attack in. So Veil of Flash, Rites of Lightning, Entwine Lightning, and Arcanic Shockwave are my elemental ones that I'm looking to fuse. For my lightning attack cards, I'm using Ball Lightning, such a good card in the set. Any lightning or elemental action that's played after this attack action gains +1 damage if it hits. So it just stacks it on itself, which is really useful. Then I also kept in Lightning Surge. It's a 0 cost for 4 attacks, so it hits that break point, and if you play it from Arsenal, it gains go again, and you can use these for fuse. Other lightning cards I put in is Electrify. I love playing this from Arsenal to get that draw mechanic. It has go again already. And then if I deal any damage physically during my turn and this has been played, I gain 3 additional damage. So you can kind of see these on-hit triggers of dealing this additional damage. With some of these runs, I've dealt like 8 to 10 physical damage and 8 to 10 arcane damage in the same turn, which has been really good. Flash, pretty simple. Defense for 2. And when you play it at red, basically any card in your hand gains go again, the next card that you play. It doesn't even have to be an attack action card. Plunder Run, I just added these to the deck. I finally pulled these because I went and got a freaking booster box with them, and I got 3 of them in there. The next attack action card you control, if it hits, you draw a card, so it's good to kind of put more pressure on people, force people to either block out or you're going to get another card, which in a Briar deck is really good because we have so many 0 cost cards, we can chain together a lot of things. Razor Reflex, I'll use this on attacks because it gives it +3, and if it hits, it's go again, which 9 times out of 10, unless they have a lot of defense reactions, it's going to hit. So it gives me go again. And then I can also use it on Thorn to give Thorn +3 as well. Just to kind of, if they're at a low life threshold, right? Maybe they blocked exact or blocked 1 over to prevent from dying. You play a Razor Reflex and you win the game. I actually beat an Old Him deck off of a Razor Reflex. It went really well. For Read the Runes, this is where you start seeing the Runechant stuff, right? I had 3 reds and 3 yellows. So the reds create 3 Runechants and the yellows create 2 Runechants. I will try like hell to use these as my second non-attack action, because what that does is when I play this as my second non-attack action that turn, it gives me an embodiment of lightning token, and it creates Runechants, right? So for my next offensive turn, I have my first attack that I play is going to get go again no matter what. And it's going to get 2 or 3 extra arcane added to it because I'm going to attack with it with the Runechants I just created. So you're creating that extra arcane, right? So if you play this at the end of your turn, get an embodiment of lightning token, and then let's say you play a card like Singeing Steelblade on the first turn next turn, you can hit for 4 physical. It's already hitting for 1 arcane, and then if you play a red read the runes, it's going to hit for 4 arcane. So you have a 1 cost that's hitting for 4 physical, 4 arcane, which is just great. The other Runechant based card that I put in is Spellblade Strike. So it creates a Runechant token and also attacks for 4. So you're creating tokens while also attacking. Really good for that. I put Weave Lightning in here as a pump. It will pump any lightning or elemental. At red, it pumps for 3. At blue, it pumps for 1. And if you fuse the card that it's pumping, it gains Go Again. So it's really good for that. And this card naturally has Go Again. The other card that's kind of like a difference maker is Blink. So I'll use Blink sometimes just to set up like a Read the Runes. So maybe I play one of the attacks that doesn't have Go Again, like Singeing Steelblade or Spellblade Strike, or even Rites of Lightning, something that isn't going to get Go Again. I'll play a Blink right after it for no cost, gain that action point back, and then play like a Read the Runes, which gets me, again, that second, that Embodiment Lightning token, and it gets me 3 Runechants. So as you can see, we're keeping the same thing that Briar's good at, which is going wide and doing a lot of different attacks and also giving physical and arcane damage, giving the opponent a lot to think about. But adding those Runechants just gives a little bit more pressure to where, especially if you can get them down like to below a 20 health life threshold, like late in the game, it's going to really start to hurt them. You're just chipping away. And every attack that hits, you're creating those embodiment earth tokens. So I'll have a 5-card hand. I'll hit them for 8 to 15 damage, counting physical and arcane. And then when I draw up on my next turn, like let's say they hit for 6, which is decent, right? If I hit them 1 time or 2 times last turn, then now all my non-attack actions get +2. So now I can defend with 1 flash on a 6 attack, and I block for 4. So I only take 2 damage when I probably gave them 8 to 10 the turn before, and I still have 3 cards to work with on my offensive attack, which is just huge, right? You're blocking pretty much everything they have to give you with one hit, and then 1 card, and then you're hitting back at them really quick. So it's easy to keep that pressure up. The final portion of our deck, which is the most important when it comes to arcane, is Sting of Sorcery and Flicker Wisp. I have 1 Pulse of Candlehold to go get the Earth, Lightning, or Elemental action cards from my graveyard to the top of my deck. So again, pulling those cards back into your deck to use them. But Flicker Wisp and Sting of Sorcery, if you can use these together, followed by a fused attack card, they're so good. So like Flicker Wisp, if you can fuse this with a Weave Lightning or something, if it's fused until the end of your turn, attack or action card effects you control that deal arcane damage instead deal that much +1, which it fuses with itself. So Flicker Wisp will deal 2 arcane. And you play Sting of Sorcery, which makes any attack action card deal 1 just for attacking it. So now you have 2 and then 3, right? But since you just fuse Flicker Wisp, when this 1 arcane is triggered from Sting of Sorcery, let's say on a Veil of Flash, it's going to deal. So now, since Sting of Sorcery was played before Veil of Flash, Sting of Sorcery will proc on Veil of Flash. So Veil of Flash will deal 1 arcane just for attacking. But since you had Flicker Wisp that says whenever a card deals arcane, it deals that much +1, now you're dealing 2 arcane just for attacking with it. Now, if you get really lucky and you play this with like an Arcanic Shockwave, which already deals arcane, if you fuse it, if you have maybe a 5-card hand, you play Flicker Wisp, Sting of Sorcery, Flicker Wisp, fuse it with Weave Lightning, Sting of Sorcery, right? So you still haven't used the resource yet. Arcanic Shockwave, now you've played 3 0-cost cards. You fuse it with that same Weave Lightning. Now Arcanic Shockwave is going to deal, counting the Flicker Wisp and Sting of Sorcery, is going to deal 2 damage just for arcane, just for attacking, 2 arcane damage. Then the Fusel gives it 1 more arcane, and then that gets buffed to 2 arcane because of Flicker Wisp. So you see how it keeps pinging itself. So now this Arcanic Shockwave is dealing 4 physical and 4 arcane, and you already dealt 2 arcane from the original Flicker Wisp. So you've now dealt 4 physical and 6 arcane on this turn without using 1 resource. So now you can see like why that's so good and why this deck can be so crazy with long runs. It's just you're attacking the opponent for 10 total damage without using a resource. Like there's very little decks in the game that can do that, and this deck is really good for that. So that's the basis of the deck. I hope you all enjoyed this. Hope it made sense. Again, key takeaways: you're trying to go wide, attack with a lot of different attacks, get those lightning and earth tokens to help you on your follow-up turns, and then bring cards back into your deck with some of these supplemental support cards in order to keep that pressure on. A lot of these cards have draw mechanics. Electrify has draw mechanic. Plunder Run has draw mechanic. So a lot of these you can draw if on hit, which is really good. And then you can create Runechant tokens. So it just keeps up that attack pressure, and you can go from there. But if you all like this video, let me know. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you would add, what you would take away. This is a brand new thought concept for me. I've played a decent amount of games with it, but these new heroes are going to keep developing. And I know Viscerai is normally the Runechant, but I like the fact that I can create Runechant pressure with also using Briar's abilities. I feel like it's a really good aggro Runechant style gameplay. But let me know what y'all think. Let me know what you would add, what you take away, and I will see you all next time on TCG Talk. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Please like and subscribe if you get a chance. Thanks, guys.